The International Teleproduction Society presents a technical seminar. Today's topic is D1 and D2 Interchange. Here's Algie Abrams, the Director of Engineering for the ITS.
Hello. Welcome to the first in what we hope is a series of teleconferences that address significant technical issues of our industry. We've gathered here today a group of engineers from Southern California and those visiting from out of town who are visiting SMPTE, as well as a distinguished panel of manufacturer representatives and ITS engineers. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce Linda Reinstein, who is president of the Southern California chapter. Linda?
Thank you, I'm going to take a moment to welcome everybody to our first Technical Issues teleconference, a first for our group and a first, I think, for Southern California. Brief moment. Thank you to IVP for making this possible, and thank you all, and we hope that each one of you chapters out there, because I can't see you all, it's kind of weird, does this because we need it. And Algie, I'm going to turn it over to you. Have fun. Don't get too technical, okay? Hang on.
Thanks. I think we should spend a moment or so here talking about what this conference is and is not about. It is about talking about technical issues. It is about sharing information not only between manufacturers to us, but between ourselves too. I'm absolutely convinced that most technical problems that we have in our industry are in our own heads. We just don't know it yet. So this is about sharing. It is not about bashing. If you have serious technical, serious personal or beefs with anyone, this is not the forum to deal with those on. We are here going to just deal ourselves today with purely technical issues. Boring as it seems, but just technical issues. What I want to draw upon here is the camaraderie that most engineers feel together. I have always had this dysfunctional relationship with Scotty on the Enterprise. I mean, if he ever had a color framing problem, I'd beam up and help him. So I also have made calls myself to people here in the audience and the panelists here. When I've had difficulty, I call them up and say, hey, what's the problem here? And the engineer would tell me, because we had this bond together. We need to increase that bond, and that's what this is about. So we need to stress the objective and not the subjective values, keep high on the science and low on the rhetoric. You might be interested to know how we're getting to where you are. We're originating from the studios here at KSCI in West LA. From there, we're being microwaved to a place called Keystone Communications in downtown LA, or actually in Hollywood. From there, they're plugging us into the Pacific Hub, and from there, we're going to Compact Video, which is uplinking to Telstar 302. So hopefully you're seeing us, and hopefully you are seeing us. Our hour that we devote to each topic will be divided into three sections. The first section is a symptom analysis section, to where we will go through and just determine what the symptoms of the problems are. In the second 15 minutes, we will then address those symptoms and see if we can find the underlying problem. The third half part of the hour, we will deal with what is the cause of those problems. For example, if my tire goes flat, the first thing I notice is the car's running rough. The problem is the tire's flat, but the real problem is it's a hole in the tire. So we're going to try to isolate our problems this way so that we can spread them out so you can see what the problems are. If we are successful here, you will leave with more questions than you have now. This is mostly just an illumination providing forum, and we hope that we can do that. Let me introduce our panelists here. And there's one name here I have to read. From Ampex is Michael Arbuthnot. Close? Glad you could make it with us today.
Thank you very much.
And this is Bobby Lawrence, who is director of, what are you director of, Bobby?
Service in the Western region.
For Sony.
Although sometimes I wonder myself.
Well, we welcome both of these manufacturers' representatives with us today. This is our distinguished panel of engineers. This is Don Dan, who's with Post Effects in Chicago. Welcome, Don.
Thank you.
Phil Mendelson here from Digital Magic right down the street in West LA. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mark Miller, who is Director of Engineering over at Unitel Video, that provided a lot of the graphics that we'll be using today. And Bill Womack from Modern Video Film.
Thanks, Algie.
Glad you could make it, Bill. Okay. Well, let's start. The issue that we're going to talk about first is D2 interchange problems. And what I'd like to do is to Oh, first of all, I need to tell you something very important that I don't know. We have an 800 number, which I don't know, that we would like for the people who are participating in this forum to call in. So as it's keyed on the screen there, I see it right now. I feel like an evangelist. 800-852-2947. So if you call us, we will take you live on the air. Some of the D2 technical problems I have heard of, just to get started, are high error and concealment rates during inserts. Anybody have those problems? Let's talk to a few of these people and find out what they're finding out. Introduce yourself. Stand up.
Gregory Smith from Unitel Video. One of the problems I think that I and a lot of other people have in facilities is, of course, insert editing on D2, primarily audio insert editing, and even more specific when just doing either 1 or 2 insert edits, audio 1 and 2 insert edits, or 3 and 4 insert edits, causing high error rates.
Is there anything that you do when you notice this problem that will change the circumstance in any way?
Well, there's primarily the first thing we would probably attempt to do would be to adjust the tracking, try to optimize peak RF.
I see.
And to compensate. It is a noticeable improvement.
Okay. Who else has a, pass the mic on to the next person there. What other kind of artifact are you noticing with D2?
My name is Wayne Weitcheger with Sunset Post. The symptom that's been described is probably the main symptom that we have problems with also is during audio laybacks, high errors at the insert point.
Now this is, you're saying this is during audio inserts that you're having these problems?
Yes, and beside tracking, we like to check the, in out-of-house tapes, we like to check the RF envelope, make sure the envelope is adequate to attempt the insert even. And there's some, I would say, question as to actually what conforms to a proper envelope at times, and plus with the audio packets, you've heard the 50% package rule. If you don't have, if it's hanging below 50% of the top of the RF waveform, don't try it. And this and other aspects, I think, are what should be addressed on the
Okay,
D2
we will have time to cover those more technical aspects a little later in the half hour, but that's a good problem. Anybody else have another problem with that they'd like to discuss? And don't be shy, because I won't let you be that way. Yes. Introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Jim Ray with the Entertainment Television. One of the problems that I've noticed on the audio insert edits is that the RF wave shape, or wave, I guess the quantitative value of the waveform, the audio packets either drop way down or are way up. And I don't know exactly what's causing it. I could use some help in that area.
Okay, so you notice that at the edit point, the RF level changes on the particular thing that you're inserting into the new...
Yeah, just in the audio packet of the edit itself.
I see. Now, do you notice the same thing when when you're just inserting video and leaving the audio track alone? Do you notice a discrepancy happening at that point as well?
No, video doesn't seem to affect it as much. Only when you do an audio insert only, the RF wave shape will, when it comes to the audio packet, will either be considerably down or up from the rest of the wave shape.
I see.
The RF wave shape.
I encourage anyone who is watching now to please call us. We would love to hear from you. Do we have a wet caller on the line at this point? No one. All right. It's song and dance time. Yes, let's...
Hi, Ray Mitchell from VidFilm.
Hi, Ray.
One of the problems we're seeing is how quickly the transports go out of what I would call specification. We at VidFilm have to pull our machines out every 300 to 500 hours, pull the guides out, clean under the guides.
But what we're trying to center on right now is what symptoms are you seeing with the problem? I mean,
primarily it's with insert editing. Again, it falls out of specification. Even when you try to insert, you'll end up damaging the tape to where you can't recover later on.
So the two symptoms that we've identified right now is audio inserts causing high error and concealment rates. Is that correct?
Right.
And video inserts causing high...
haven't been that much of a problem. It's mainly audio.
Mainly audio.
And it's always the ends of the track that fall out of alignment.
I see.
You know, nobody's been able to offer us a solution to this, so we maintain our machines a lot.
I see. Okay, we have a caller on the line. Caller, would you please identify yourself? We're not hearing anyone in the studio.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, Algie.
Who's speaking?
This is Rich Torpy from New York.
Rich, how are you?
Oh, pretty good.
Are we
Waiting
coming
to
in
turn down
loud? Are we coming in loud and clear?
Just waiting for them to turn down our TV so we don't get the echo here.
Okay. We're having some difficulty here in the studio hearing him back.
It's like the Howard Stern show.
Okay. The question is, or more of a comment, it seems a lot of the problems are due to a difference in how the operators treat D2 and D1. They're more used to working with analog machines.
Be more specific.
Well, they tend to leave a video waveform up when they're monitoring instead of looking at the RF waveform.
I see.
The RF waveform is a much better indication as to the quality of the tape and as to whether they should even attempt to do an insert. A lot of times they'll try to do an insert, find they have a problem, and by then it's too late.
That probably comes, I expect, from years of operators ignoring what the RF wave shape on a Type C machine looks like. That has not been a critical issue until now. Are you training your operators to look at the waveform more fundamentally? How are you handling that?
Again, it's mostly in dealing with operator training. It does help quite a bit to tend to walk around and discuss things with them as they're doing setups prior to a session.
Rich, have you seen some of the problems they're talking about here in the audience, that during inserting material that you get high error and correction rates that appear?
All the time. If you don't have a good match, if the machine's not properly optimized to insert into a tape, optimizing prior to recording is critical in having a successful insert.
I see. Well, listen, thank you very much for your call, and I'm sure there'll be some time later in the program we can call back and talk about some other things. So thanks very much. We have a question here in the audience. I've lost the mic. There it is.
I wanted to ask the caller before he left, but
He's still watching.
optimization, is he talking about record optimization or edit optimization? Because we go through both processes very carefully. We have Ampex machines. We've just installed version 4.0 software that has the auto edit optimize. We're still having the same problem as far as the audio packet's RF strength. That's what I was talking about before, is the RF strength is different after the insert than it was before the insert.
I see.
And optimization is something that we do, I would say about every 10 minutes of tape time that goes by, because it seems to be, if you have a tape that's been blacked from beginning to end, things don't seem to stay. Now,
what you're saying
you
is
can't optimize just once for a whole tape. You've got to keep optimizing.
This is a very interesting problem that I have heard about from a couple of engineers. Maybe that when Rich gets back on the line a little later in the program, we can ask him that one point there. There's a problem that I have heard of that we haven't discussed yet, and that is not being able to record over previously recorded materials. How many people have that kind of problem? Well, yes, Greg? You need the mic here first.
I'd say that used to be a problem. I think that we used to run into that problem frequently beforehand. The problem, of course, being isolated to record current and oversaturation of the tape. Again, that gets kind of back to what the caller said before about people being used to C-type VTRs, where a little bit of record current was good, and a lot of record current was great, you know, because it reduced the error rates. But I think that has kind of been eliminated to most cases, but still in some facilities I think it still crops up.
We have another caller on the line in about another minute and a half before we go to break here. Let's take the caller.
Hello, Algie.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, Ken Miller calling from the Mid-Atlantic ITS in Washington, D.C.
My friend, how are you doing?
Doing just fine.
Great.
Well, we call basically as a group here to concur that we're experiencing some of those same problems. We don't seem to have quite the degree of crashing that it seems like you're talking about there. But we do concur that actually the last issue I think is the one at my facility that I have the most, we can make a faulty edit into a tape, not knowing it's a faulty edit, and there's nothing that I can do to the machine to make it reinsert over that edit other than a crash record or back to a bulk erase.
I see.
It's like the tape goes stupid and you just can't record over it anymore.
Okay.
I know it's an interesting phenomenon, but we've experienced that a number of times.
Isn't 3M putting out stupid tape these days? I mean, don't they? No, I meant that in the kindest possible way. Well, we have, let me summarize here if I can, that we have identified 3 problems. That there's a problem in audio insert editing, higher error and concealment rates there. A problem sometimes in video recording or inserts and high error and concealment, and record depth or flux density type problems. So when we come back on the other side of this break, we're going to take those symptoms then and see if we can find some underlying cause that precipitate them. And so if you have any input there, we'll be asking our distinguished panelists for their input on this section of the program. So after this break, we will come back and see you in a while.
iTest is an engineering reporting system that operates either as a standalone PC or as part of a local area network. It allows facility personnel to report system or equipment problems, which are then logged and tracked. After the problem is solved, the repair information is entered. Later that night, the system wakes up and downloads this information to the iTest database, where it is processed with other users' information. Next, iTest sends daily updates to the local user so that all technical information is current. Rather than starting off cold the next time a problem occurs, the engineer checks iTest to see what others have done with similar problems. Imagine all the collective knowledge and experience of our industry at your fingertips. It's not here yet, but it will be soon.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special program of your International Teleproduction Society. Hi, I'm Ron Burdett, this year the Executive Vice President of the ITS and co-chair, along with Phil Keeling, of the Technology and Manufacturers Relations Committee. We're very excited about tonight's program. We hope that you are too. It's another ITS First, our first coast-to-coast ITS teleconference on technology. We want to thank each of you for taking time out of your busy schedules and joining us, and especially I want to thank those of you in the various ITS chapters across the country who have gone the extra mile in helping us to make this teleconference a success. Again, we want to thank you all for joining us. Enjoy the teleconference, and please let us hear from you.
To say this. I mean, if post-production did not work out for Ron, he could always make a living as a Baptist preacher. We have identified 3 problems in the last part of the program. They are high error and concealment rates on audio inserts, high error and concealment rates on video inserts, and record depth or flux density type problems. What I'd like to do now is ask our distinguished panel from manufacturers if they would take these points one at a time and address them. And Bobby, since I know you the longest, I'll ask you.
I'm sorry, I'm the what? I thought you were going to say the oldest. That
well,
I'd like to preface my comments by saying that, you know, the population of VTR, installed base VTRs throughout the country, when you look at the major markets where the population is very heavy, and as you spread out across the country and it thins out, information tends to do the same thing. Information is readily available in most of the major markets, and as someone commented earlier, yeah, that's an old problem. We've solved that issue. Unfortunately, that's not the consensus across the country, because if you don't have access to the information readily or don't share it with a lot of your engineering friends, sometimes the information doesn't get out. Take, for example, the issue of audio inserts. We know that a lot of that problem comes from alignment. pure and simple alignment. If you're very careful with it, if you're on top of it all the time, we know the audio packets are lower than the video packets. That's a given. But it comes down to the same thing. It's proper maintenance and being very disciplined in doing all your alignments and adjustments.
Bobby, let me, since we're addressing this problem of audio inserts, what are the particular things that you have found in your experience that are the critical adjustments? Well, what is the issue? I mean, what is the underlying problem with the high error rates? What is the cause beneath that?
There are a lot of things that can create this kind of a problem, but we always come back to the same thing. You can take a particular machine and you may have a specific problem with it, but it's related only to that machine, and even though the symptoms may be similar. But if you look at it globally, the issue, as I said earlier, the issue is quite simple. It's tape path alignment. That's really the key to not having this problem. If in fact, you know, the issue will come up sometimes about, you know, D2, why does it not have an erase head, a flying erase head, for example? Because the format really doesn't need it. But the alignment of the machine is critical for that to work the way it should and properly.
Okay, I want to pin you down here. On the high error correction and concealment of video and audio editing, what's going on in the tape? I mean, what is it physically taking place that would cause these things to happen? I realize that tape path alignment is probably the cause, but what is physically going on here? Let me give you a hand here. Could we ask our panelist over here to perhaps input this? What have you found has been the causes of high concealment rates in audio and video? Don?
Well, I think one of the things that was certainly outlined very well by a paper that was done on 3M by the 3M group, Les Assir specifically, over the last year or two. He indicated and showed that when there are high concealment errors, that generally what is happening is that there is an improper write of a track over a previous track. So you have a partial write over.
Okay, then that is the recording depth problem. You can't record over it. So that's one thing that does cause high...
And also track placement.
I see. We have some graphics that we have prepared, thanks to the courtesy of the folks over at Unitel, that let's take a look at these tracks and see if we can identify what the underlying causes of the problems are. First, let's take a look at what a good video track, and those of you who are in the studio here, you might take a look at the monitors. As you can see, it's a normal D2 tape format, and we had to, because TV paints with a fairly wide brush, we couldn't get the detail on this graphic that we wanted. But you can see that at the bottom is time code and control track, top of the track is a Q audio track, and the helical slices that go across the tape, the bottom two parts of that slice is audio 1 and audio 2, then the video information is put down in the middle of the tape, and the audio 3 and 4 are put at the ends, top parts of the track. Don, what problems are you seeing with that format that cause those errors?
Well, generally what will happen is that, if we can go back to the graphic a second, I'll go ahead and...
there we are.
As the new track is getting laid down, because the track is not necessarily displaced the same way as the previous track that was on the tape, what will happen is you will get a partial write-over, as I was indicating before. So therefore, as the tape machine then comes back to read that particular track, you're getting a partial read of what was previously there, the signal that was previously there, and also the new re-recorded signal.
Let's take a look at that graphic. As you can see now, this is what a good insert edit looks like. that the tracks, both audio and video, lay over perfectly the tracks that were laid down beneath them. But when we go to a D2 tape that is mistracked, I learned to talk in Texas. You can see that the placement, that the longitudinal x-axis placement of those tracks is moved somewhat. As you can see that, I hope your monitor is closer to you than mine is here. But you can see both audio and video are shifted so that because there are no guard bands between the helical slices, that the new video is written down between those two slices, causing high error rates. Okay. Yes, Bobby.
I'd like to add another comment to that, and that is that tracking is a very significant issue. And you have to look at, especially tapes that come to you out of house, or perhaps even tapes recorded on a different VTR, you have to look at the use of auto tracking and manual tracking and how that applies to what you're attempting to do. And I might cite an example, say a machine that's tied to an editing system, for example. The editing system may be telling the VTR to do one thing as far as framing goes, and the VTR may be fighting that in an auto tracking mode. Those are the kind of things that you have to sort out when you get into this kind of a problem.
Yes. Let me remind our watchers and our people in our downlink sites that our 800 number is 800-852-2947, and we really want you to call in. Okay. Mark, what problems did you see are your biggest problems with D2 editing at Unitel?
Well, again, we tend to take a real active preventive maintenance role as much as we possibly can. Obviously, only have so many machines, and production schedules, especially this time of year, are very heavy. But we do find that the most important part of that is staying on the machines on a fairly constant basis, preferably during a well-scheduled PM maintenance session where you can take the machines out of service for at least a day and really go over them carefully. Insert editing, of course, with us is also the biggest problem. And
do you run across problems with in your audio inserts? Do you ever run across problems there with the audio packets being misplaced up along the helical stripe?
Well, we haven't on a continuing basis lately. This used to be something that was more prevalent a while back, let's say about a year ago. At this point in time, we tend to have that problem less and less. Again, a lot of our work is not mastered to D2. A lot of it is from D2 in a playback mode. So
I see.
Most of our clients.
I would like to take a look at that error. It's called the PG phase error or TAC phase error, depending upon what type of machine you see. As you can see, this is a misphased edit, and that the video information is not touched but left in the right spot, but the audio packets themselves are misset along the y-axis or the longitudinal axis, the top to bottom axis of the tape. So the packets are being not laid back down in the same place to where they're being picked off. So evidently, when a machine goes back to replay this, you get some of the old and some of the new, and nothing that really makes any sense. So this is a misphased error here. How many people have seen that kind of problem? Pete, what did you do to recognize that?
We adjusted our machines, basically, and that solved the problem. This was 2 years ago in San Francisco. The post facilities around got around.
I see.
Talked and adjusted our machines. Actually solved the problem.
Pardon us, we're not used to TV around here.
Basically, to solve the problem, we adjusted the machines.
I see.
And we did guide alignments, PG phase alignments, tracking alignments. We went through and the whole city in San Francisco, I'm from San Francisco, all got together and traded information and basically developed a good interchange program. But basically, it was purely an adjustment problem.
All right. So what we've seen here then is that the symptoms that we talked about earlier, noise, excessive error and correction on audio and video inserts, and not being able to record over previous information is directly related to the quality of the maintenance of that machine. It has nothing to do with the design of the machine, it's how we as an industry are maintaining it.
I'd like to make another comment. Also, it's the operator alignment of the machine as they're inserting. They have to check their tracking. I mean, that's what they're able to do. And they should also check error rates before they go in. The most serious problem we ran into with this misphased audio was that the misphased audio, especially with PG phase out, could actually eat the video, and you could destroy a master that way.
That it would be, the PG phase would be so far off that the audio is being written into the video track?
Into the video and destroy the video track. And you're out of luck if you don't have that video.
I see. They're giving me the sign that I need to wrap this up for this segment here, but we'll come back and continue this. So we'll take a break, and we'll see you back on the other side.
Hello, I'm Fred Reinstein, and I'd like to add a word of welcome and congratulations to those of you participating in today's interchange. It's a hope and conviction of the ITS, to which I subscribe, that as we set forth on some of the uncharted seas of the new technology, that we have a better chance of steering a straight course if we can have this kind of collegial interaction amongst leaders like yourselves.
Thanks. We'd like to thank our friend Phil Keeling for that little word on iTest. We have a caller. Let's take that first. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Who am I speaking with?
My name is David Johnson with WFAA TV in Dallas.
Finally somebody I can understand.
Well, I'll try and speak up.
How can we help you, David?
Well, I wanted to make a comment on insert editing and the problems that you have with recording over the, the same track properly.
Yes.
The newer software in the Sony machines has auto-edit tracking. So during the pre-roll, the machine will maximize tracking to ensure that when you do make the edit, you're right on center track. And that's really helped us a lot.
I see. Well, how many D2s do you think are in the population there in Dallas?
Well, at this station alone, we have 28. We have a total of 12 in our LMS system, and all of our programming is recorded and played back on D2.
Oh, that's significant. How many hours would you say are average on each machine?
Well, in the LMS 500, where we air our spots back, we're up to as many as 3,200 hours on one head. Of course, those tapes are recycled in the machine and, burnished in pretty good. The edit stations don't get as many hours because you're always putting in new tapes and stuff into the machine.
Well, listen, that's one of the things that became obvious to me when I started talking to people about these issues was that something happens to these machines around 4,000 to 5,000 hours to where there's a fundamental wear that takes place that really only starts showing itself up around that time, and that's about what time that these errors start happening. Let's take some comments here. What are you seeing as far as the things he's talking about, the amount of wear on a machine and its error, its likelihood of causing error? See, I tell you I learned to talk in Texas.
I just wanted to make a comment relative to the caller there. The head hours that you're getting are incredible, and it lends itself to the idea of tape that has been run through the machine a couple of times, because obviously the worst pass or the hardest pass, if you will, against the head life is the first pass. Contrary to a lot of us believing in the 1-inch C days, you want a tape that has had a couple passes on it in the machines. You'll find that the tape machines won't get beat up as badly. Relative to auto tracking, it really depends on the situation that you're in. We're finding, as a comment was made before, it depends on what your editor is doing and what's fighting what, and if the tape in fact was mastered in that machine before, if auto tracking is appropriate to use at the time.
Michael, we haven't heard from you, and now's your time on the spot. These phasing errors that we're hearing about, both CTL and tracking error and PG phasing error, is that a widespread problem that you hear from machines that have been used a lot, or how does that fall into the Ampex category?
Well, I think you have to go back and first of all set a little bit of onus, and I think we as a manufacturer have to take a little bit of the onus for the problem. For the last 40 years, you've been making insert edits into tape machines and have been doing it rather successfully. You don't think twice about tracking a tape machine to do an insert video edit. But one of the things we didn't do a good job on was instructing all the users of the new digital formats that you have to do the same thing when you make an audio insert edit. For the first year or 2 years, I sat at an STE meeting here in Los Angeles and was rather shocked that 2.5 years after the introduction of D2, we're here trying to tell you guys how to track tape machines again. We obviously didn't do a good job out of the chute. That was one of the issues. You have to track tape machines, and that's one of the facts. You have to think of audio now exactly in the same identical terms that you think of video.
Now, in my talking with these engineers around, I have found, I've heard people say, I never use auto tracking, I always use auto tracking. What's the story here?
Well, I can't comment for all manufacturers, but auto tracking ostensibly will do a better job of tracking a videotape recorder, especially in these new digital recorders. Once we went to azimuth recording, we now butt the tracks literally up against each other. The record head's actually a little bit
Yeah, 2
wider.
microns, I believe. There's
Yeah,
2 micron
exactly.
overlap.
The real I guess the solution is if you simply maximize the tracking for maximum RF, you'll actually cut into a previous track more than you really should. A real form of auto tracking is to maximize the tracking based on RF and then offset the track necessary to not cut into the previous track the way you'd ordinarily do it if you maximize the tracking.
I'd like to ask our audience here for their experience on tracking, auto tracking versus not tracking. Manual tracking, I think, is the correct thing. Greg, you're the guy with the mic. You win.
I guess I have to agree with what's been said so far by the panel in that it's on a as-needed basis. Sometimes it's the way things are going with the tape you have from that you're working with. It's the thing to do is auto tracking. Sometimes it's better to do it manually. Sometimes everything works just right and you don't have to do anything at all.
We have a caller now. Let's take another call. Hello? Hello?
Hello, this is Greg in El Paso.
Greg Davidson, my friend. How are you?
Fine. One of the problems that I keep hearing is how critical the tape path is. Now, for people that have big maintenance staff, that's fine. But the people have had to rebuild the machines to achieve this tape path. Have they had to develop paths or procedures that are in addition to what the manufacturers have developed? And B, what are the manufacturers doing so that we don't have to keep rebuilding these tape paths or keep aligning? It seems like we lose all the advantages of digital if they become maintenance intensive.
That's a very good point, Greg. Now, are we coming in okay in Texas? A second person who can understand me.
Wonderful. Even though you did learn how to talk in Texas.
I'd like to point this question to Bill Womack here, who's chief engineer of modern video film. They have a very unique solution to their problem, and Bill, I'd like for you to tell us about it.
Okay. We've taken a slightly different approach to the traditional in-house engineering staff. We still have a very large engineering staff and a tape-specific group, but by and large we've farmed out the bulk of our VTR maintenance for all 26 D2s, 10 D1s, and assorted Betacams, 1-inch machines, etc., to Sony on a block service contract.
How's that worked out for you?
That has worked out beautifully. We did a very careful analysis. It turned out that in the years preceding our going with the service contract, we had spent, bear in mind that we have a tape room with 150 plus machines.
Wow, 150 D2 machines?
No, D2s, we got about 26 of at last count. We've got D2s, D3s, D1s, Betacams.
So you're finding this manufacturer turnkey maintenance on the...
It's worked beautifully. In the year preceding our maintenance contract, we spent $500,000 on parts.
I see.
Okay. This year, we'll spend just over that on parts, full service maintenance, spares, etc. And the consistency is excellent. I have to say, now we're a post house, okay, so we use by and large new tape most of the time. Primarily Modern is a mastering and editing house. In doing so, even though we use almost all new tape stock, I've got machines in my tape room with over 4,300 hours on a set of heads. I find that head wear is no longer a problem. I'd also like to point out that mechanics is everything on these tape machines.
We have a couple minutes left in this segment here. Could you tell us what you have found to be the salient mechanical alignments of the D2 machine?
Well, obviously there's a lot of variables in the machines, but we found that one of the biggest influences on the mechanical alignment, even following the book specifications, is the reference tape.
The reference tape.
In that there is a window, not being critical of the manufacturers, but what looks good on a reference tape may not necessarily make a great insert into another tape. That window has to be smaller.
Let's ask Bobby about this, because in the last seminar that we did, there were some discrepancies between two levels of Sony alignment tapes in their alignment. Bobby, let me turn that over to you.
It's a difficult issue because alignment tapes are, as we all know, are critical. And they're critical because if that's our master and that's what we're using as our reference for keeping all our machines the same, then anything that's not kosher, to use a New York term.
But there were two alignment tapes with different serial numbers. And that one, remember there was a dip that you had to align the RF to, that one dip was there and the other dip was not there, or does anybody know anything about this other than me? Didn't we talk about this up in San Francisco, that there were two levels of alignment? Steve, what have you found about that? Make sure you get the mic here before you talk.
I'm Steve Kalu from Video Arts in San Francisco. I just went to the Sony D2 training after we had the thing in San Francisco, so I was kind of going in their arm for bear as far as this tracking went. And one thing the Sony's changed is that they have now one tape that supports the 10s and the 20s. And the main reason was because of the flying erase, and they changed the width of the head between the older and new machines.
So this is no longer, this is a alignment tape whose time is now passed and is no longer a current alignment
Right,
tape.
there's two tracks that you need to use on the tape, as far as one for a 10 and one for a 20, but
Okay.
the two tapes are it's no longer an issue. As long as you're playing back the right numbers on the tape, you're in alignment.
We're going to take a phone call here. Caller, hello? Hello? We hear you. We don't hear you. Do you not hear us?
I can hear you pretty much okay.
Okay. With whom are we speaking?
This is Jim Swick in Chicago.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Well, pretty good, thank you.
Good. What can we? What do you have to say about what you've heard here?
I'd like to go back to the auto tracking issue for a second.
Okay.
I was called in on an edit that went awry when auto tracking was being used, and what happened is it appeared that the auto tracking got confused early on in the edit, and he continued to walk out as the editing process continued to...
That it progressed, that the tracking error progressed as the tape played on?
That's right. It compounded itself with each edit. And this happened to be a long format show, and by the time they got down about 25 minutes, they could no longer track the tape successfully at all.
That's a very interesting problem. Who has an answer for this? Anybody heard of this? Anybody any callers heard about this? What did you find as your solution?
Well, what we found was that it started out as an out-of-house tape, and they were doing audio insert edits, which was kind of against the rules at the time. But by that time they had gotten 20 minutes or so into it, they started getting so far out that it was no longer possible to do an audio insert edit. And in fact, we did a couple of passes. We cloned the tape to try to recover the video, and then we went back and reinserted the audio.
I see. Well, that's very interesting. Well, Jim, thank you very much. It's very apparent, and this is pretty much the results of the San Francisco seminar, is that the maintenance required for a digital machine is significantly higher, more critical than a Type C machine. And I have a feeling that a lot of problems that we're seeing is that somewhere back in our maintenance guy's mind is still a Type C mentality. So we have to improve that a great deal. We're going to take a 5-minute break here, change some of the panelists, and come back. And so take 5 minutes. When you hear the music slow down, come back. All right. See you in a while.
iTest is an engineering reporting system that operates either as a standalone PC or as part of a local area network. It allows facility personnel to report system or equipment problems, which are then logged and tracked. After the problem is solved, the repair information is entered. Later that night, the system wakes up and downloads this information to the iTest database, where it is processed with other users' information. Next, iTest sends daily updates to the local user so that all technical information is current. Rather than starting off cold the next time a problem occurs, the engineer checks iTest to see what others have done with similar problems. Imagine all the collective knowledge and experience of our industry at your fingertips. It's not here yet, but it will be soon. welcome to the second half of the technical seminar. Once again, Algie Abrams.
Well, I'll tell you I was from Texas. Sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. During the break here, we were immediately going to go in and start addressing some D1 issues, but in the break there are a couple of things that I think we need to spend a little more time on relating to D2, so we're going to spend a little time on that. One of the points that was brought up about how do you deal with record depth or flux density type problems in recording, and this is something I'd like to put over to our panelists here. Don, do you have any input on that?
Well, interchange tests between a number of VTRs in the plant will certainly help set up record currents for the particular VTRs, because as what was alluded to before, just because you align something to an alignment tape doesn't necessarily mean that it's perfectly aligned. Interchange with other machines in your facility, and for that matter other facilities, is very important. We've done something relative to D1, which I hope we will do in D2 or in the central region, and that's namely go ahead and circulate a tape amongst a number of different facilities and just basically do a crash record into that tape.
So this one tape then would have recordings from each different facility, and
right.
everybody would then try to match into that particular
Exactly. I agree with Jim's assessment of, Jim Swick's assessment of cutting insert editing into someone else's tape. We don't do that either. That's a taboo for
So you
our
clone then when you tape. You always clone a tape you're going to audio insert.
Yeah, we try to as a mode of standard operating procedure, and it's worked quite well since Mr. Fayette got the first two D2s back from Sony a number of years ago. That we try to take the tapes that were blacked in a particular machine and record onto those. In other words, as a crystal black, and then insert onto those tapes that were cut on that machine. And we also, out-of-house tapes, we do not go ahead and insert edit into, because it gets to a critical situation where you don't know how bad you are until it's almost too late to recover. And in Jim's case, he was quite lucky that he was able to get the video back, but the audio is obviously the first to go. And you find out about it when it's too late.
Is setting the record current in a D2 machine a complicated thing to do? Answers?
Unfortunately, no, it's not real difficult, but however, there are some questions in regards to actual procedure for doing it on the particular machines that we have. There was at one time there was one specification alignment procedure for doing it. Now it seems like that one's kind of changed, and there happens to be a different alignment procedure. Unfortunately, I don't know if we have enough time to go into that one right now.
Like I say, with TV, you have to paint with a fairly broad brush, and hopefully we can just provide some illumination. We have Jeff Steele on the line from Washington. Jeff, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
Hey, Algie.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'll be doing a lot better in about 45 minutes. What can I help you with?
Well, I have a question specifically for the manufacturer reps there. I'm curious as to what kind of work they're doing to improve the reliability of the format so this constant maintenance isn't necessary.
Bobby?
At Sony Corporation, we are constantly seeking to improve our products. I mean, that's kind of my commercial statement. But on the reality of it, we look at D1 and D2, both the formats as being mature formats, just like we look at 1-inch and Betacam. They've been around for a few years now, and we've cut our teeth on them, and we pretty much know what the issues are and how to resolve them. However, as we introduce the later versions, like the DVR 2000 as an example, we are constantly improving those as we move along. In fact, with the DVR 2000 series recorder, we are currently in a upgrade program for those people who have that particular product, and you can get that information from your local regional center by just contacting them.
Jeff, let me ask a little question here. I don't know how to ask this delicately. Is Is it the format that's the issue here, or is it the level of expertise doing the alignment on the machine that's the problem? Which do you consider? Is it the machine format is somehow fundamentally flawed, or that we have not responded yet to the depth of engineering necessary to keep a D2 aligned? Is Jeff still on the line? I suppose not. Well, I didn't mean to offend you, Jeff. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting, is that the D1 machines D2 machines are incredible. I mean, if you think about it, in 5 1/3 inches of tape per second, it stores 30,000 pages of single-space typed information. If you think about it, that's a lot crammed into a small space. So I believe, my fundamental assumption is that we ourselves are not responding to a very difficult and persnickety format that is excellent. That's pretty much my read on the thing. We have a call here from a gentleman from Houston who I cannot read the name. Hello.
Hello, Algie. Marty Kirkland.
Marty, how are you?
Pretty good.
I can understand 3 people now.
Well, I want to say this is a great teleconference you guys are putting on. I wanted to make one comment and ask Dan a question. The comment is that the time I spent going to D2 school I thought was very worthwhile. They are incredibly complex machines, and I'd hate to think about someone trying to work on one without a little bit of training. The question for Dan, you said that you guys do not, as a matter of policy, do audio insert editing on other people's tapes. How do you handle that with your clientele? Do you explain the situation to them and make them wait, or do you try to get the tapes in ahead of time, or operationally, what do you do with that?
I assume you're talking about Don 80 Dan.
Don,
here.
yes.
That's okay. Everybody does it. So it's the policy generally is that, well, obviously that's an operational question there. However, I can tell you that every effort is made to try to try to get the tapes in, if you will, before the session, so that way there are no surprises before the session begins. I might say too that the community is kind of banded together on this issue, so that helps things along dramatically. We're not the only facility in town that has had this opinion, and we've gone ahead and
do you charge your customers for tape time and transfer time when this happens?
I really couldn't tell you on that, to tell you the truth. That I would have to defer to someone else in our operation. But I can tell you that I believe the clientele has been satisfied with our explanations as to why we would like to do this. And after all, it's just an assurance of quality more than anything else to their product.
We have another call here from Frank, calling from L.A. Well, hi, Frank.
How you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Okay, I'm doing fine.
Where are you calling from in L.A.?
Los Angeles, Paramount Pictures.
Oh, so you're downlinking us there?
Yes, we are.
All right.
We're doing the old Keystone downlink.
Good. How can we help you?
Well, we just have a question about the field service reliability on some of the machines that go wrong. Is that going to be improved in the future, or is that something that we just must look forward to?
Are you trying to make me sweat or what? I think that's a very good question here for our esteemed Bobby Lawrence, who's in charge of customer service here in Southern California.
Hi, Frank. Do me a favor, elaborate a little bit. I don't think I quite understand what you're asking.
Well, we just have a situation where we have a gold contract with your people.
Right.
And there seems to be a lot of problems when we send the machines into Sony service and field service. And then when they come back with low chroma, bad audio, things like that.
Frank, let me interrupt here. That seems to be a little bit out of the context of our show, and I think, if I speak for Bobby correctly, he'd be more than happy to talk with you about this in person. We want to stick pretty much with the technical issues associated with D1 and D2.
Oh, okay. I guess my question was whether or not that was going to be improved in the future, field service.
What I have seen of this man's service down in Sony is excellent. And what they have done wrong, they have learned from and done right. And as far as Sony goes, this guy right here has got a gold mine. It's great.
Okay.
Well,
great.
Frank, I'd like to make this offer to you. You know, I realize this is a departure from the format here, but please call me after the telecast. You can reach me at my office in Cyprus, and I'll be more than happy to discuss the issue with you, and we'll get a resolution for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break now in just a moment. When we come back, we will continue our discussion here on the ITS network about D1 and D1 interchange problems. And so we'll see you back on the other side of this break.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very special program of your International Teleproduction Society. Hi, I'm Ron Burdett, this year the Executive Vice President of the ITS and co-chair, along with Phil Keeling, of the Technology and Manufacturers Relations Committee. We're very excited about tonight's program. We hope that you are too. It's another ITS First, our first coast-to-coast ITS teleconference on technology. We want to thank each of you for taking time out of your busy schedules and joining us, and especially I want to thank those of you in the various ITS chapters across the country who have gone the extra mile in helping us to make this teleconference a success. Again, we want to thank you all for joining us. Enjoy the teleconference, and please let us hear from you.
We have one more comment before we go on to D1 from our esteemed panel of ITS engineers here. Bill or Mark? Mark, you haven't said anything. Say something.
Oh, it's fine. I haven't said much? Okay, well, here goes. we were just discussing the issue of insert editing into existing tapes from clients out of house, and certainly in our instance, we would never be able to clone every tape that came in order to do an insert edit. Consequently, we do insert editing on a fairly constant basis. But what is required is that very good and careful training of our operators who can evaluate the tape when it does come in as he's setting it up. If he sees anything that is outside of the spec that the engineering department has set for him, he'll get an engineer involved, and we will indeed evaluate that tape before doing the edit.
Yes, Phil.
I just wanted to add, most of what we do at our plant with D2 involves distribution mastering. Therefore, we seldom do insert editing ourselves and almost never do insert edits on out-of-house D2s. But what we do a lot of is our D2s go to other facilities where audio laybacks are done. What I try to recommend, if I can get to the facility in time, is that they do a test insert at all times, and that if they see anything funny, if anything doesn't look right, they just put a stop to it, give us a call. So, I mean, I'll get the machine over to them if they need it. I think part of the problem there, and it comes back to maintenance and regular maintenance, it also comes back to resources. As complex a machine as it is, when you get to some smaller facilities, and especially a lot of audio-only facilities, they simply don't have the proper resources to really keep a handle on it. And also, I think we've found that a lot of insert problems, although they can be traceable to tracking issues, operator-related issues, they can also be traced to record current issues. Take a machine that may be set up for one kind of tape, and we send them something else, and their routine is not necessarily to optimize record current right then and there, and at that point, we both have a problem.
Bill, you had a comment?
Yeah, I would like to make a comment that, one, I agree with Phil that where he does, on the opposite side, he doesn't do a lot of audio inserts, but I have an audio department that does do lots of audio inserts, and they do them quite successfully. Again, it's a matter of operator training and getting engineering involved when necessary. But your comment about record currents is also very salient, because that's something you really have to stay on top of in a D2, because as the head wears, as the pole piece gets smaller, the reluctance goes down and your record current changes without your ever knowing it. So you must really stay on top of this.
I see.
And if I may comment, Algie, on that, and like with a lot of these technical issues, what we tend to do is fall back on what we know best and our experiences. So if you look back at 1 inch and your head starts to wear, first thing you do is start cranking up record current, because that gives you the recording density. That's not a great idea on a digital machine, as Bill points out.
So what we're finding is that there's a significant quantum leap between Type C mechanics and digital mechanics. And I think those of us in New York and LA and San Francisco have found this out over the past couple of years, and I think this is what's you're beginning to discover in other parts of the country. We need to now change and talk about our D1 issues. And I hate to leave this behind. We could probably spend another 3 hours talking about just D2. Imagine that. But I'd like to change and talk about the D1 issues. So who has joined us here is Mr. Carl Van Camp from BTS. Carl, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, Algie. It's good to be here. I hope to be helpful.
Glad that you could participate. Let's see if we can identify now some D1 error symptoms. Who is having some? By the way, those of you who are sitting on the other end in your nice chairs wherever you are, please give us a call. The number you'll see will pop up on the screen in a moment, and there it is, 800. The camera just went right in front of it. 800-852-2947. Yes?
Hi, I'm Gene Stratton from California Video Center. And the greatest problem we have with D1s is trying to work with tapes that have come from out of house and are several years old, a 3 or 4 year old tape from another house, and we cannot reproduce it unless we misalign our drive. And we, having only 2 machines at this point, we can't afford to take the time out to reproduce that. And I've talked to other houses, and they say, yeah, they have misaligned their drives and they can reproduce it.
So what kind of errors is this misaligned? What kind of symptoms is this?
Track. Even in manual, it will continue to jump tracking. You can't keep the tape tracked. That's the symptom.
So you set it right in one part of the tape, and by the time you get later down here, the tracking has changed?
Exactly.
I see.
So that's the worst problem. We send it out, so we don't have the time to readjust our machine. We send it back to whoever made it, or to another house who might have a machine that matches it a little bit better. Somebody else might be able to track to it, or might have the time to make their machine track.
Well, that's a very interesting phenomenon, that tracking would be correct on one part of the tape, and then as time progresses, it changes down here. What on earth could be causing that? What other type of D1 errors and symptoms are you seeing? Let's talk to Phil. Phil?
Where do I begin? Well, the problem that was mentioned, you know, I mean, the most obvious, of course, is if the tape's got some mistracked inserts. I assume that's not what you're talking about, because you specifically mentioned they were older tapes. So you probably got tape stretch. You may have tape stretch. You may have some kind of tape damage, I would presume. But that's hard to know on an individual.
Well, let's take a look here. We have a D1 graphic that was prepared by our friends over at Unitel that shows what a good track should look like there. As you can see, similar to the D1 and D2, there's control track, time code, and Q track on the outside edges of the tape. But unlike D2, video packets are on the outside part of the tape, and the packets that deal with audio, even though they're mislabeled in our drawing, are on the inside portion of the track. So I would assume then that that we don't have the same type of audio insert problems with D1 that we do with the D2 machines. Am I correct in that?
Unless you've got CT phase problems, then the same rules more or less apply.
So,
but the tape, we're not as susceptible to edge fall off, to entrance and exit fall off.
I see.
As we are with D2.
We have this graphic here that shows what a mistracked D1 would look like. This is our good audio edit here, where the tracks are basically overlaid exactly with the tracks beneath them. The mistracks, you can see that on the x-axis of the tape, the video tracks are misset. So luckily D1 has a slight guard band in between the two tracks, so you don't get the extreme critical error that you do with D2. But this is what a mistracked looks like. Let's take a look at the misphased track error here. As you can see that the video tracks are in the correct position longitudinally on the tape, but are offset on the y-axis up the tape. And the information is not being picked off and laid back down in the same type of, same place where it was. So these are the errors that I know of in D1. Does anyone else see any others? I want to spend some time also talking about this problem of tracking changing throughout the tape. That's a very interesting problem.
Well, LG, there's numerous problems, and it's hard to go just by symptom when you get into some of this. The obvious symptom is high error rates, and again, it's just difficult to say, well, we have high error rates and take it from there and wait for the next segment. But EQ, having to EQ each tape that comes in as you take your alignment tape, go through your machines and have them all set up correctly, and even the same alignment tape in different machines, having to EQ it, and tapes in general, out-of-house, in-house, from different segments of the tape, having to re-EQ it as you progress and or change the tracking somewhat.
Re-EQ?
Re-equalize the heads or the playback in order to get your optimum error rate, the lowest error rate.
Is anyone else seeing that? Having to re-equalize playback RF, I assume?
Same thing, that from time to time when you get tapes from out of house, you'd have to, from a different house, I should say, you would end up having to re-optimize. But I would say that as a rule, that would be considered standard operating procedure under the D1 format, i.e., in this case, Sony DVR 1000s. In regards to the tracking changing over the length of the tape, Phil mentioned tape stretch. I wondered if it would also be maybe a tape speed problem also.
Yeah, you and I discussed this when we were talking. Let's discuss this tape speed issue.
Well, and again, particularly with the Sony DVR 1000s, and as mentioned also in the Sony alignment procedures, but something that's kind of over the past had been forgotten about was maintaining and checking the tape speed. Yeah, on the machine, because that would cause problems with insert heads.
I see. Phil, do you see any of this?
Well, it can be very difficult to pinpoint a given problem to just one cause. What we find, we're fortunate, we have a lot of D1s and they're of different vintage and different manufacturer. So we're fortunate in that we have some machines that will auto EQ, some machines that won't. The machines that don't are the machines that typically crank through more of the in-house tapes. And a lot of the out-of-house tapes just find their way to the machines that we can just push a button and auto EQ. And those are the ones that need it. It's definitely been our experience. And again, you know, we can't predict what's going to come in from out-of-house. We're going to have, you know, tapes of 3 different manufacturers. And again, it's fortunate that some of what's on the market now, we can just push a button and not have to take, you know, 5-10 minutes to re-EQ.
Okay, we have about 2 minutes left in this segment here, and I would really encourage those of you who are watching to please give us a call here. We really value your comments a lot. Yes?
I wanted to get back to what was said earlier, though, about the error rates and symptoms. The one symptom that seems to be prevalent has to do with just plain generic error rates, is that, quote, our error rates are high, but yet it could be, the symptoms, the causes could be across the board, could be many different factors, but the underlying fact is that we end up having high error rates. It could be with our own tapes or tapes out of house or something like that.
And when you and I were talking, you mentioned the fact that you thought that that the error rates on the earlier type Sony scanners was a lot less than the later type Sony scanners.
Yeah, they're. I've had some anomalies. Actually, I'm fighting an anomaly right now, where it seems as if there has been some evolution in the scanner heads themselves and or maybe in the tape stock itself, which is causing some problems. But again, this is more from a historical standpoint because this is DVR 1000s as opposed to newer machines or in the case, or other machines manufactured from like BTS machines.
I see. Thanks. Greg, we got less than a minute here. How are you doing? Greg Larvins.
Hello?
Hi, Greg. Can you hear us?
Yes, I finally got you here.
Yes.
I'm doing fine, Algie. I just have one more symptom here since you're collecting symptoms.
Okay.
Is that we have had on a couple of occasions on the long format D1 when we were just making a clone from another tape at a point where there was no insert or no change in the recording, we just end up with a strange aberration at that point, and we haven't been able to explain those. You know,
what does the aberration look like?
Well, it's just a typical, like a servo hit and just a high concealment rate for an instantaneous point in time there, long enough to mute the audio and just be a general pain in the butt.
Do you get a hit on the servo at all?
Yes, like I say, there would be a very quick little hit there, and you know, so quick that you can't really see what happened, but it is the point at which no edit was made or any other action was made. It was, you know, like I say, a complete clone.
We have some hands going up here in the audience. Let me take the one on the second row over here first. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Ray Mitchell from VidFilm. I've seen this problem several times, and it's usually traceable to a dropout on the control track pulse. It's very hard to see, but you'll get just a little bobble in the servo, lose your audio, and it comes back. Very difficult problem to trace down.
How did you troubleshoot that problem?
This took us probably about 2 months. We had a rash of what I would call bad tape come in, and
what would you? If you had to tell Greg where to look and how to look, what would you tell him?
I'd say get the control track up on your scope, watch it through the areas that you get the hit. You know, watch it several times because, like I say, it's real hard to see. If your control track pulse drops to roughly 50% of normal value, you'll get a hit.
Greg, are you still on the line?
Yes, I am.
Have you taken a look at that?
Well, actually, we've just been avoiding the long format tapes. It seems like it only happens on those. We, you know, don't have any problems at all on the 30s or the 20s or the shorters. So I've just been trying to avoid that symptom since most of our work is short form anyway.
Phil Mendelson here has a comment on this, and we're going to take a break.
Well, it's more by way of an anecdote. We were having much the same problem, and it was with long format tapes. And we were running around in circles for a while, and at one point it was so bad, and there were other anomalies along with CT anomalies. We just opened up the cassette and looked at it and found that we could see through it at that point.
Oh,
definitely a tape problem.
Very interesting. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have about another half hour to discuss these problems, and so we'll see you back on the other side of whatever this is.
iTest is an engineering reporting system that operates either as a standalone PC or as part of a local area network. It allows facility personnel to report system or equipment problems, which are then logged and tracked. After the problem is solved, the repair information is entered. Later that night, the system wakes up and downloads this information to the iTest database, where it is processed with other users' information. Next, iTest sends daily updates to the local user so that all technical information is current. Rather than starting off cold the next time a problem occurs, the engineer checks iTest to see what others have done with similar problems. Imagine all the collective knowledge and experience of our industry at your fingertips. It's not here yet, but it will be soon.
Hello, I'm Fred Reinstein, and I'd like to add a word of welcome and congratulations to those of you participating in today's interchange. It's a hope and conviction of the ITS, to which I subscribe, that as we set forth on some of the uncharted seas of the new technology, that we have a better chance of steering a straight course if we can have this kind of collegial interaction amongst leaders like yourselves.
We have a call on the line, Joe Hickey from Washington. Joe, how are you? Joe, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, Algie.
What's up?
I'd like to ask Carl there, who I've talked to before, about the playback equalization window, probably specifically for the DCR 100, but also to ask other people with other types of machines if they have run into differences in the window that you can set up playback equalization for with varying tape stocks and varying tape sizes.
Well, let's make Carl answer that.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Actually, Joe, what we were talking about was not so much equalization as it was AGC. The issue is that the new machines have a much wider AGC window than the old machines and are more tolerant of variations from one brand of tape to the next. And the earlier machines are a little fussier about that. And to the extent that you sometimes have to choose the stock that you're going to record on and stick with that to the best of your ability and set the tape up.
What kind of tape, what kind of stock are you using now, Joe?
We're currently using Sony.
Okay. Bobby, did you have anything to, did I hear you about to say something?
No, I concur with Carl. I think I agree, and I'm glad to hear he's using Sony tape.
Yes, Phil.
Just real briefly, we have found from time to time the auto EQ window on the 100. I don't think we find it. I'm not exactly sure of this. I don't think we find it so much with the 500. It's limited to the point where every now and then we'll get something from out of house on different kind of stock, and we'll just have to kind of move the window over, tweak it a little bit manually, and get it to fall in range, and then everything's happy.
One of the things that I would like to bring up is one of the things I heard a lot when I was talking to the engineers across the country about the content of this program is they talked about two things. Number one, what do the error concealment meters mean on the various machines? And so I think we just should address some of that. So Carl, I'd like for you to talk about that.
Sure. I was asked before this began if I could actually give a list of numbers of concealments per second relative to the position on the bar graph, and honestly I do not have that data. I do not know what it means relative to the position on the graph. We have on our machine a little traffic light, a little green, yellow, and red LEDs that are on the front panel so that you don't have to go to the menu that has the bar graphs on it to get a quick idea of how happy or unhappy the tape deck is playing what's on the tape at that moment in time. Those lights are designed to indicate the green meaning you're fine, don't worry about it, yellow meaning you might want to look into things, and red meaning you should probably stop doing what you're doing. The transition from yellow to green on the output bar graph is something like 3 inches from the origin of the bar graph, 2.5 perhaps, with another ½ inch or 3/4 of an inch transition to the red, which is generally considered unacceptable. So in essence, what that means is you can have a fairly active output error bar graph, and our opinion is that there won't be any visible distortions in the picture, that the algorithms will do their job. The whole format is designed with errors in mind and fault tolerance in mind, and it should allow you to continue to do your production and make money even on days when that bar graph isn't sitting right down at the bottom.
Do you think there's ever any kind of, since this is a problem that I hear about a lot, would there ever be a potential for a consensus? Like VU meters, we all know what they look like. Would there be ever a point of a consensus between manufacturers to have the same kind of metering?
I really can't comment on that, not being on both sides of that coin. I don't know how the metering in your machine is weighted. I honestly don't know the hit count that makes my meter work. It probably would be easier to train your tape room people if you own both machines if their metering was similar. It seems to me, though, that if we as individual manufacturers tell people with our indicators on the front of the machine, at this point worry, at this point don't, that we've pretty much given them the tool that's needed in order for them to make their day-to-day decisions.
Bobby, how do you respond to that problem?
I would like to add one quick comment. That is that remember that these error meters on the front of the machines are for the operator, not for the technical staff to determine what the error rates are. And it's,
What does it mean that the technical staff would look at then?
you really need to determine error rates in different fashion than looking at these meters. You can't just, assume because those error rates are high on the front panel that there's high error rates necessarily. And you should go through the normal procedures of how you gauge your error rates when you do an alignment and et cetera on your machine to determine the real issue. And I agree with what Carl says. Sometimes it's not a life and death issue. Even though the error rates are running high doesn't mean you're in trouble necessarily.
Right.
Let's hear a response from our panelists over here. Don, do you have any comment?
I just wanted to say one thing relative to the setup of the machine. Yes, I do fully concur that the panel meters are not the end-all, as we have 100s, 500s in the BTS line, and also 1000 too. We have found that we have had to go ahead and find alternate monitoring points in the machine to go ahead and actually determine error rate and errors just in the machine, period. So that way we can achieve a better alignment and a better interchange between all of our vintage machines. And might I add, those of other facilities too. This is where it's extremely important to be able to exchange a tape with your colleagues, to go ahead, if nothing else, have them play back your tape, get a feeling for how the error rates are on their machine, and then consequently back the other direction too. Have them send a tape to you, or a recorded portion on a tape. Now, keeping in mind the tape stock has been an issue over time. It has definitely been an issue in our facility. So you can't assume that one piece of stock, because it tests good at the beginning, is necessarily going to hold true to the entire piece of stock.
We have Phil Keeling on the line. Phil, how are you doing?
Hi, Algie.
Can barely hear you, Phil.
Well, I'm calling you through Dallas because free trade doesn't work yet. We can't get it direct on the 800 number. And I'm also calling you from the press box in the Sky Dome, the home of the world champion Blue Jays. But we had an observation up here that perhaps it would be helpful if at some point down the road we could, either all of the manufacturers or perhaps yourself could publish a list of problems that have been solved, because we get a great deal of feeling here that some of this stuff is old news to some of us and new news to others, and it would be helpful to have that list of, here's the things we found, guys.
You know, that sounds remarkably like eye test to me. Remarkably.
How that happened.
Phil, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yes, I think that's a very appropriate point. And at some point, a little later here in this program, I'd like to give you folks an update of where we are with iTest, because this is absolutely the kind of problems that we can solve without having to bother these guys over here. Is that if we enter in our data ourselves, we can access that data and affect those changes in what we do based on the knowledge that we have accumulated through experience. Yes. So other than the being the world champions there, what else?
That's all we have for now, Algie. Just want to let you know we're here watching, and thanks.
Thank you very much, Phil. Okay, let's continue here with our D1. What other type of symptoms are you seeing? You're not going to make me have to song and dance here for a while, are you? Yes.
Again, with the other colleague here, I was just getting back to what we were just saying, generic error rates. We've actually seen this over time, and again, just speaking particularly to the Sony DVR-1000s, where we actually just have high error rates despite the fact that the machine has been gone through from top to bottom. We've checked all, we've done the complete alignment procedure. We're using brand new tape stock, and no matter what we do, the error rates that we have, and again, there's that question about how do you read the meters and what's considered good and what's considered bad, but still, we're talking fairly high error rates.
I see. Yes, Bob.
Can I address that for a moment?
Sure.
You know, John Watkinson, in his book on D2, which in some ways is applicable here to D1 as well, he said the one thing about digital formats that's critical is it needs a contamination-free environment. And sometimes we really don't like to admit to ourselves that our humidity or our environment is contamination-free or the humidity is at the right level. That's a critical issue because as airborne particles enter your environment and contaminate your heads, you could clean those machines every 15 minutes, and you're not going to fix that problem of high error rates if it's related to contamination. You've got to solve the contamination problem first.
I'd like to address Bill Womack here. They have had significant success with that. Bill?
Yeah, I have to concur with Bob. What we have done and have really had a lot of success with it is implement high-performance air filters in our tape room, positive pressure in the tape room, and DICHEM entry and exit mats. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's the sticky material on the floor. Has really cut down on the wear on the machines and the error profiles. I'd also like to point out, though, that on a D1, you have to remember that you're operating much further down on the hysteresis curve of the magnetic media itself. And so in doing so, it's much more sensitive, or the machine itself is much more sensitive to slight variations in the permeability of the tape. Now, from batch to batch on the tape, and we have actually measured this, there is a slight variation in permeability. So, which is why, and I think the three of us were just discussing this, we always, on a continuing basis, reevaluate tape stock. We evaluate every batch, and what I may be buying from Sony today, and I may buy from Ampex tomorrow, and 3M next week. We shift around quite a bit. I know the tape manufacturers get upset by that, but that's something that we do find is that one of them will come up with a different symptom. So we shift
between batches or between manufacturers?
Between manufacturers and batches.
I see.
And so we'll shift to another manufacturer for a while, and the problem will get worked out. In particular, I recall a problem with a dead space in the vacuum deposition kettle on one manufacturer who was having a turbulence problem during the metal plating process of the tape, and almost never found it because it's very hard to research. So
was it the alignment of the particles on the tape somehow were different?
No, this was actually a turbulent area in the flow depositing larger
chunks than normal,
particles than normal, and so that was one that was a very tricky one to work out, but we didn't, they did. And,
but before we go to Phil here, I want his comment. Greg Larvins is also back on the line from Miami. Greg, welcome back for your second tour.
Algie.
Yeah.
I have a comment for the gentleman that had his tape machine that he's gone all the way through and still had problems. We were having similar problems. We have probably among the oldest D1s in the country, I venture to say. And we're running into probably lower drum wear, probably before all of you will be running into it, or maybe you already have. But
how many hours do you have on your machine?
I think some of ours are, what, Joe, in the 6,000? Yeah, 6 to 7,000 hours we're running into on some of our older machines. And I must thank the people at Sony Tape. They actually helped us find out what some of our problems were by sending them off to Japan to have the tapes actually analyzed. We went ahead and made a recording from all 6 of our machines, and they went through and analyzed each section to give us, an idea of how the tracks were being laid down and that sort of thing. And that was a very helpful thing for them to do. I assume they couldn't do that for everyone in the country, but I'd certainly like to thank them for their cooperation with us anyway. And certainly what they let us, the knowledge they gave us was that our lower drums were getting worn to the point where they really definitely need to be replaced. So, that's certainly an expense that we would have liked to have put off as long as possible. We hate to go, strictly by the book on that one and say at X number of hours, it's time to spend that kind of money. But it was very nice to have the reassurance, to go and say, yes, now is the time to spend this money and go through this effort. And so, beware, the lower drum will eventually get to you.
Thanks. Phil?
I was just going to throw something in, backing up a little bit to environmental issues. We find, I mean, we're on this side of town, we're close to the ocean. A week like last week will typically be one of our worst weeks when humidity is very, very low. The Santa Anas were coming through. We've got fewer problems when the humidity is a little higher. I don't mean on the order of 70–80%, but you know, up in the mid-range.
Do you humidify the air in your place?
We don't. That's something that I plan to implement. It makes a definite difference.
This is a very interesting point. What is optimum humidity for a tape?
I'd love to know what other people have found too, and perhaps what you guys
Do you have an idea
about
what the optimum humidity for a tape environment might be?
Honestly, I don't know what our factory spec is, but I know that several of my clients in the Chicago production market do control the humidity in their tape rooms, if only there, relative to the rest of their plant. And from the feel of it, I would guess it would be at least 45%. It's noticeably comfortable for humans when you walk into that environment.
Don, are y'all humidifying the air in your plant?
We're in the process of going to be doing some air conditioning retro, so the answer to that is, at this point in time, no, but I will agree with all the comments made relative to the environment. We've run into some situations and lack of humidity that would go ahead and give you a real problem.
I see. Yes.
Yes, to comment further on the cleanliness and environment and such, we do monitor humidity and temperature pretty closely, and I can tell you exactly when a machine will start to die with low humidity and temperature. But to go back to the cleanliness statement, we have, and we've called Sony in on this, we have machines sitting right next to each other, and one machine will work perfectly all day, all night, rain, shine, dry, hot, and the one right next to it will have problems continuously, head clogs, problems. Sony's come out, checked it out, but we still have, and they've done a good job. When they leave, it's beautiful, but 2 weeks later, it's back to its old tricks again. What can we do to address that stuff?
That sounds like a Bobby question to me.
Sounds like a specific issue, too. That's a difficult. There's no easy answer for that one. You know, two identical machines, I'm assuming they're relatively the same age, sitting side by side, one having clogging problems and the other one not having clogging problems. And as you mentioned, our service group has been out there and is pretty much blessed it, I assume. And as you said, 3 weeks later, you're back in trouble again. Yeah. Black magic is not something that we've been very good at. And
I don't know, Bobby. You do pretty well at it.
Well, but I think I would like to look into that a little more. I think that you know, if we go in there and look at the machine and it runs good for 3 weeks, but then you start experiencing clogging issues, I would be, even though there's two machines identical standing side by side, I still would be a little suspicious of environmental conditions and or something that's being done with that specific machine that may not be being done with the other one. I think it needs some specific investigation. I'd like to get together and have someone come out again and maybe spend a little more time at looking at that particular issue.
Our friend Terry Wickery from Denver is on the line. Terry, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Terry. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, let me tell you that being from the dry area of the country up in Denver, that the humidity is a real problem here. And I can attest to the fact that when we first got our D2s, we had a real problem with humidity. In fact, we raised a lot of heck only to find out that because we were so much short in humidity up here, the humidity became a real problem. We graphed. We found out that we had to keep about 50% relative humidity in our room to avoid the head clogs and a lot of the problems. In talking with others around the country, we find that the humidity problem can be very, very paramount, because remember that you're pumping a lot of air into air conditioning into there, and that air conditioning dries it out. And I would say that the humidity problem becomes a real problem on these digital machines.
Let me ask a non-engineering question. Do you hit humidify before or after your air condition?
After.
After.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon that is a good idea, isn't it? Right. Yeah, what happened to ninth grade physics? Okay. Thanks, Terry, for making me get so embarrassed here in front of this whole crowd. Listen, I have a question here. You're finding this kind of stuff interesting?
Oh yeah, we've got a pretty good audience here, and I think you're doing a good job.
Thanks. Glad to hear it. Okay. One issue that I'd like to talk about is kind of our summary issue on the D1s, and then what I'd like to do is address some of the audience here to find out what solutions we have found for these problems here locally and on the telephone. So if you have worked out solutions to your problems locally, we'd appreciate you giving us a call here and waiting on the line, and we'll get to you one at a time. This has to do with the issue of the difference between the BTS and Sony D1 machines. And Phil, if you would elaborate that a little more clearly, I'd appreciate it.
It's a little difficult to quantify. We've got a lot of different machines in-house, and we have a policy of running around our plant very often with usually Monday morning because we do basically what Don does around town in our plant for starters, and look at everything we can imagine on each
clarify
machine.
that you have a tape that you pass around per machine? And
from machine to machine. The machines are designed to produce the same footprint. The machines are designed to produce the same format. They do so in different ways. So we will run into issues that can be identified depending on where the recording came from. For example, guide errors will manifest themselves differently on a recording made on a BTS than they will tend to on a Sony.
Be more specific. What do you look for?
What we find, and we find we really have to stay on top of this, what we find is guide errors, typically entrance guide errors, will tend to produce a breathing in the RF, which is from entrance to maybe 50% in. Producing a recording that will play back just perfectly well on any machine you put it on tends to raise a flag when you look at it, when you look at RF, which we tend to do as often as we can. It's purely a maintenance issue. And it's purely a matter of getting to the point where the machines are understood well enough that you know what symptoms are indicative of a given problem on a given machine. What we've also found, Sony uses a continuous seat on the bottom of the scanner. BTS uses a series of 5, I think, landings, as they're called. And the alignment of those landings is extremely critical. It's considered, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it is considered a factory adjustment. Using BTS service people, we've made adjustments to those landings. We've had problems from time to time, although not recently, with anomalies in the envelope that can often be corrected by readjustment of the landings. It's a matter of getting comfortable with the various manufacturing concepts that you can recognize what a symptom is representative of.
I see. Pete, I'm interested. How many D1s do you currently operate?
We have 5 in Los Angeles and I think 6 in San Francisco. And we have a mixture as well.
What type of life are you getting on drums?
Well, the BTS we haven't had long enough to know. The Sony 2000s or 2000 series, again, we haven't worn out a lower drum yet. We just recently replaced both of our 1000 series lower drums. On the upper drum, we're getting about a little over 1,000 hours before we replace them. But it brings to mind one thing that did happen, and we just replaced both lower drums in our 1000s, and we're running into the same problem this fellow here is running into. One of our machines runs perfectly, the other one consistently a little higher error rate. Now, we don't have a significant problem with it. I mean, interchange is maintained, but it's worrisome to the operators. And we would certainly like an answer to that, but Sony, up until now, hasn't been able to give us a a solid answer on why this machine is different than that machine.
Why the 1000s are different than the 2000s?
No, the two 1000s are different from one another.
Oh.
So it's.
Well, that sounds like a specific machine-related problem.
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it today, Bobby, but
Thanks a lot.
get ready.
But we'll talk later, right?
Yeah. But again, yeah, 5,000 or 6,000 hours on the lower drum, and then.
I see. Sitting next to him is Chris Genero and Andy Daly. Andy's Director of Engineering at Post Group, and Chris is the Chief over at the digital part of Post Group. Am I correct about that?
Close enough. Just about everything.
How many D1 machines do you folks have, and what is your experience with these problems that we're talking about?
Well, we have 7 D1s, and we have 2 buildings. And one thing that we've noticed environmentally, since we've just recently moved 4 D1s from one building to the other, we're noticing that the error rates have reduced in the 4 machines that are in a cleaner building. As far as head hours are concerned, we're getting between 1,200 and 1,500 on an upper, and averaging about 4,000 to 5,000. I mean, we just changed out one lower that had about almost 6,000 hours on it.
What symptom are you, when these machines start getting a lot of hours on the drum, what are the symptoms that your particular lower drum, what symptom are you noticed associated with that particular artifact?
Higher error rates, interchange problems, mainly. The RF starts to get anomalies.
Such as?
Well, you can't square it up. It'll have dips in it. It'll have, the edges will be rounded off.
Is this part of the breathing that you were talking about earlier?
Not necessarily. I mean, we'll see the same thing, fall off, which isn't quite the same. And breathing really is a periodic
I see.
Bounce.
This gentleman here is from Modern Video Film. Tell me about what experience that you're having with, and please introduce yourself as well.
My name is David Klun, and I'm from Modern Video Film. And we've been getting actually quite a bit longer head life since we've moved to the new building, which is a very clean air environment, as Bill Womack talked about. We've been getting probably closer to 2,000 hours or more on a scanner, and I would say like 9,000 hours on a lower drum.
That's remarkable.
The S curve is sort of the biggest problem that you get with the wear of the lower drum. As you turn it up and down, you get a very significant S curve, and it's very difficult.
So rather than being a nice flat, well, you know what, we have these nice boards here that no one has drawn on yet. I have to do this. So instead of getting a nice flat wave shape like this, you get something that's more, something like that?
Yeah, well, actually not the bottom part, because the bottom part is flat, but like that. And it gets worse and changes as you go up and down, change the tracking.
So you get the tracking, and this S lump just moves back and forth. Yes. That's a technical term, by the way, an S lump. Moves back and forth.
Yes, and you get roll off at the edges.
So you get roll off like this?
Yeah. Yep. And you have a hard time.
So this is a symptom of lower drum wear?
Yes.
I see. What kind of symptoms are you seeing if you have entrance and exit guide type wear? What do you look, when you're looking at the RF
Actually, we
envelope?
change the exits and exit guides when we do a lower drum. And so...
so that they both go together?
I would say, yeah, it would be similar.
Now, you and I discussed capstan wear as a problem in D1.
Yes, that's correct, actually. We have had several. We put a lot of, by the way, we put about 300 hours a month on our machines. And so we have 9 machines, and they're running a lot. So I can run through a lot of wear time in a very short period of time.
Do you have any kind of formula that says when I change this X amount of times, then I will change this? For example, how often do you change pinch rollers?
Pinch rollers, well, Sony has come out with a ZD1K kit. I'm talking about 1000s mostly, because that's mostly what we have. Sony's come out with a new pinch roller kit called the ZD1K kit, which has improved the wear of the capstan motor and the pinch roller itself. It's a pinch roller and a capstan motor together.
In one unit?
Well, it's not in one unit, but it comes together as a package. And that has significantly, we were having problems with with capstan motors wearing out fairly quickly, actually, as low as 500 hours at one point. And then since they went to the ZD1K kit, it's improved significantly. Actually, just today, I think I had my first capstan problem.
I see.
Since they put ZD1K kits in, and that's been in May. That's been like 1,500 hours ago.
These tape speed problems, how does it affect the way the track is laid onto the tape?
Well, let's see, there's a couple things about the tape speed problems. Is we found with the interchange between the 2100 and the 2100 has a tighter window and will not play back or will give errors indicating control track problems with a tape that was recorded on a 1000 that will play fine on a 1000. And we found it to be a tape speed problem. And also, as capstans wear, the diameter of the capstan gets smaller, and therefore the tape actually
slows down.
Yeah, changes the speed. And
yeah,
so
Greg and I were talking about this the other day. Our theory is as the tape speed slows down, the track gets more vertical. Is that correct? Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, the angle of the head is still going the same.
That's correct.
So it would be correct, yes.
So
that's another factor is to keep an eye on. You can actually, the capstan motors have actually gotten grooves in them, and that can be a big problem in the speed problem.
Well, thanks, Dave. Well, we have spent a lot of time trying to identify what the problems of D1 and D2 are, and I think what we're seeing is that we have two tape formats that are excellent and that are very precision-oriented. And what is left to respond is the way that we as engineers respond to their needs. So what I'd like to do here is there's a couple of gentlemen in the audience that I've talked to earlier, and I'd like for them to relay what either they have done individually or as a chapter, or as an ITS chapter to do. Steve, would you please stand and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Steve Kalu with Video Arts in San Francisco. We had a similar roundtable to this, not televised, and we had Ampex in and Sony in as far as the D2 went. And a lot of things, I think the main benefit that we got from this was identifying the issues involved and making everyone aware that there was a problem and what people can do about it to change it. I think we found that it was a lot of preventative maintenance things that we're doing, alignment tapes. People agreed on trying to test interchange between facilities.
As I recall, one of the keys from that meeting was that an idea had arisen about a log tape, a logging form that would be stuck on the cassette itself that would log each and every different machine that particular tape was in.
Right, that was a modification to the ITS label that we have to specify where it had been and which machine it had been on.
Out of all those things you tried, what do you think was the most effective?
I think the meeting was the most effective. I mean, in our particular situation, we don't get that many tapes out of house.
I see.
And I haven't heard since the meeting, it was a short while ago, that there's been an improvement at all. But I know that I went away from the meeting feeling that we had accomplished something and that things would improve.
Great.
With people's attitude changing.
Thanks. Jim Swick is on the line again. Jim, thanks for calling back.
I'm still here.
Okay. What do you? What is your comment?
I wanted to comment on scanner tech phase.
Okay.
I'm going to kind of put Carl on the spot here. We had a situation where we were making tapes in one machine that would refuse to edit or would not like to edit in other machines, and he did solve the problem for us. And Carl, would you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the scanner that was in your machine was at the edge of the specification window for scanner phase, or PG phase to use the Sony term, and we just pulled it back into the middle of the window, and things quieted down. What was occurring is Sony 1000s with version 3 software, I believe, and correct me, Jim, if that's wrong.
That's right.
Have the ability to generate an error message which will abort and edit if the machine is programmed to send that error message onto the editor for scanner phase. And we were just on the edge of tripping that. We had to pull that PG back around to the middle of the window. And,
do you find PG phase to be a touchy adjustment?
No, not in my machines. It's very simple to do.
we found that our machines have been quite stable, and as Carl said, that machine was there was a specification issue between Sony and BTS, and it has now been resolved. And as Carl pointed out, what was actually triggering this whole situation is we got a much smarter editor in the sheet in the.
You mean an edit system that has more memory, or a person who has higher IQ?
Actually, no. It was the machine itself. And where the other machine was ignoring what the D1 machine was telling it about the quality of the edit that was going to happen, the newer technology machine was very happy to just abort the edit when the machine told it it wasn't going to be any good.
I see. Well, thank you very much, Jim. Ray Mitchell is here. I invited him to come to talk about some specific things, and you got a minute to do it, to talk about some specific things that he has done in his facility that deal with setting procedures that will help solve some of these operator problems.
The big issue with D2 is you don't wait for operations to call you. You set up a regular maintenance regimen. In our facility, we flag the machine when we've used it for 300 hours. It's due for service. We found if you get past 500 hours between maintenance calls, the machine's almost out of format. And we're sending tapes out that somebody else may not be able to punch into. The D1 machines have a little better luck with. We go 750 to 1,000 hours between service calls. Again, the environment factor, you've got to have a clean environment.
Do you have any structured operational training that goes on with your operators?
Oh, yes. Inserting into D2s, we take each operator who's going to be doing that, set them aside for at least 2 hours, make sure they know how to set up the scope, look at the RF waveform, know what they're looking at as far as where the audio packets are, if they're going to be laying audio in, video, the whole 7 yards. We don't let them cut into those tapes until we have a very high level of confidence they know what they're looking at.
I see. Well, they're giving me the high sign here that we're about to wrap this up. Ray, thank you very much. Thank all the participants here. Thank the manufacturers. We really appreciate you taking the time and courage to come visit with us. We hope we didn't beat you up too much. And our panelists over here, and thank you very much. Those of you who are watching us right now someplace else other than here, I encourage you to spend some time after this meeting discussing either forming a ITS engineering chapter or to revitalize the one that you currently have. It is very important for these meetings that us collectively that we form these types of associations. You've seen the value that this type of interchange can provide between all of us. Also, we didn't get much time to talk about the eye test this evening, but keep looking for that because this thing is coming and it will take a lot of worry off of all of us. I appreciate all your involvement, and I look forward to meeting each of you sometime very soon. So thank you very much. And by the way, Monica, we did it. Thanks.